This is just awesome. Judge decides on $10 million lawsuit against Black Lives Matter leader. And shout out to Sister Iman for dropping this. California judge threw out a $10 million lawsuit against the National Black Lives Matter movement and its leader earlier this week. Abdullah claimed her group, comprised of 24 BLM chapters across the country, was entitled to $10 million from BLM GNF, I guess that's Black Lives Matter Global Network Foundation or whatever. But Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge Stephanie Bowick ruled Thursday that they failed to prove their case. And how did they fail to prove their case? Well, I'll tell you in a second. The troubled national group has raked in $90 million in donations over the last few years, but recorded a $9 million deficit in 2022, according to federal filings. The judge determined that Melina Abdullah and BLM Grassroots failed to establish that they were entitled to any donated funds, said BLM Global Network Foundation. Attorney Byron McLean in a statement to the Post Friday calling the lawsuit frivolous. So basically, what's happening here is the judge threw out the case because these people had no case. Because you have to understand, the Black Lives Matter grassroots people, they're not the sharpest knives in the drawer, right? Let's just come right out and say it. They're not very knowledgeable when it comes to law of any kind. Because this is a group of people that protest against their own rights. I mean, they're all lefty liberals, of course. That's why they're bought into the mainstream media propaganda in the first place. And they literally go out and protest against their own rights, right? And they want to ban guns. They want to ban police. They want this. They're a bunch of not. Well, let me not be a bully here. They're just not too sharp. And they don't even understand basic contract law, such as the Constitution, which is probably the most basic of laws because it's the foundational basis of all other laws in this country. And if they don't understand the Constitution, how could they possibly even understand how contract law works? So, in other words, I say that to say this. The Black Lives Matter leaders got these grassroots people to organize based on promises, oral agreements, no real contract signed, no real NDAs, no real, legal agreements, legally binding agreements. But because these low-level, quote-unquote, grassroots people believe in the movement so much, they actually believed in these fake leaders, and, well, they got bamboozled. So they went out and they did all the work, and they didn't get paid. And it's funny that happened because that's called slavery. And Black Lives Matter is a democratic organization. They support the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party supports them because they're helping to push the agenda that the Democratic Party is trying to push. So, when you work for the party of slavery, it's only right that you be made into a slave. And that's essentially what happened to these Black Lives Matter grassroots people. Because in all fairness, on a moral level, as much as I don't like these people very much, I will say that if you do the work, you're entitled to your compensation as promised. But again, you're working for scum, you're working for criminals, you're working for slave masters. So what do you expect is going to happen? And not to mention, you're not too bright and you don't know how the law works because you didn't care to learn the law. You'd rather learn the propaganda. So it's inevitable that you would get screwed. And thus, they're getting screwed. And rightfully so. They deserve it. Shout out to that judge. I thought LA County was lost, but I guess not. Peace.